4 members present, Skip Clark, Joe Delaquilla, Jared Gentilucci, and myself, Peter Crane. And so I am opening the October 5th, 2021 meeting of the Conservation Commission at 6:05 p.m. and 6:04, excuse me. Let me do our other call-in user. Awesome. So here, let me go up here, and I'll remember to share tonight. And there's our agenda. So let's start with minutes. We're still waiting for DEP number on.
Yeah,
232,
and I
right?
sent Dave an email and said he didn't have to come unless he wanted
That's fine.
to.
We'll just continue.
I think something might be going on with that because it's very unusual that they would have issued one for Turkey Hill because they
And not,
submitted
yeah.
after Dave did.
Either that or Dave somehow got on their bad boy list and they're just
I know.
waiting.
Hopefully not.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Reading.
Oh, reading, okay.
Scanning. Okay, I'm done reading. I'll second it.
Roll call. Clark abstains.
Clark abstain.
Delco, aye.
Gentilucci, aye.
Crane, aye. Okay, let's close that window. Now let's look at, we have 2 requests for extension of order of conditions for both for 231 Glenwood Road. But this is all solar field, right?
It's solar, so I received the request from Mark Elbeck Jr. He did say he was going to be here tonight. We only issued 1 order of conditions, even though he's specifying 2 different parcels. And I did ask him if any work has begun, and he said there was only minor work that's taken place.
So wait a minute, we have.
I did put the.
Did he
orders
attach?
in. I put the orders in the folder.
Right, and that means that I have them somewhere. Because I have the 2 requests, but I didn't, so I want to see how we structured the order. So, give me just a moment. But, yeah. 65A, so everything's in 65A5, right? Because this is not our orders. That's really interesting. I'm not sure how we would do it if we issued only 1 order of conditions that covered both parcels because they're both on the same assessor's lot. Then
Why are they breaking the parcel?
I don't know that they're breaking the parcel or if Mark just submitted it as 2 separate requests, but I don't know that necessarily has to be 2 different requests.
I noticed he is referencing 2 separate DEP file numbers.
okay, well this one is 526.
So he's referencing 525 and 526. I was going to look those up, or at least look up the 525 to see what that is.
I didn't see that one on,
Why don't you go to the deeds?
Under Mass DEP.
Oh, DEP. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a file number.
Just the
there.
lookup, yeah.
Yeah. Just to
this
see
was
what's
the only
there.
one that I found under the deeds, that was issued by us. But obviously if he has a DEP number, then we did do something.
Interesting. So.
We had done a bunch of stuff with ZPT there at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch showing up. So there is one, 2770525, Glenwood Road. applicant name Brendan Gove, ZPT Energy, and then 0526, 271 Glenwood Road. Both issued on August 14th, 2018. I'm sorry, filing date was August 14th, 2018. Order of condition dates were...
So one's,
The conditions would have been both done at the same time then.
You
October
think so?
10th and October 11th, 2018. Are the dates and the conditions.
So he's just looking to extend them.
yes.
Yes.
Is ZPT still in business?
I don't know, but that doesn't matter, cause this all goes with the property, not with the applicant.
All right, but is this, these issued to ZPT?
They had been issued to ZPT
Yes.
for it.
But the property owner is listed as LBAG.
Therein lies a problem.
Why?
They're issued to ZPT.
Doesn't matter who the person or entity is, all that matters is the address. This goes with the address, it doesn't go with the person. Any other person can do the work as long as they all conform to the orders of condition. That's why this is attached, that's why the orders are put on with the deed. This, all land permits like this, I've actually asked the lawyer about this in different contexts. All of these permitting things are related to a property, not to a person or a corporation or an entity of any kind. It is just like the orders of condition that we issued for what is today known as 160 Wachusett Street that we'll talk about in a little while, which was Anderson's Lot 3. The orders of condition stick with the property. They don't stick
Right.
with Anderson. So, but let's see if we can answer your question more directly, which I've avoided doing.
See, ZPT went gangbusters there for a little while, and then they kind of faded off into the sunset.
There was a 2020 lawsuit against them. And I think it was filed in November of 2020. But I don't find I don't find a presence on the web for them today. So I guess Mark's not here, so we don't get to ask him.
Is it an issue that Mark's making the request and not the applicant?
He's one of the property owners.
True, yeah. So that should be fine, right?
I would think it would be fine.
I think so.
So when I write the extension, who, would I still be making it to ZPT? I mean, I assume if he lists them, they still have some sort of.
He listed them as the
relationship.
applicant, which
Right.
was probably the wrong thing to do.
So I'm just wondering whom I should make the extensions, the applicant on the extension, so that we won't get confused 3 years from now if they come back.
How about we table these two? Because, I mean, to Joe's point, if the applicant's the ZPT and they don't exist, they should not be the applicant. So if they're gonna fill it in for Mark, or the Elbag Brothers, whatever, for the current property owners, that's all fine, but we,
See, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have any reservation if he submitted to us a change in the applicant name, put his name in as applicant. So we're extending to an applicant that is existent. You know, I just don't feel comfortable, you know. It might be legal and everything, but I'm wondering what kind of grief and aggravation we could run into down the road. Well, more, how much grief and aggravation he could run into down the road.
Right.
You know, it's just easier if everything lines up.
They're technically overdue on this, right? Just barely.
It's the first meeting after
Yeah.
the expiration, so,
I
would
thought
make-
we agreed last meeting that we were gonna use like the month.
A month, grace
like a month.
Yeah.
Right, and so even if we delayed till our next meeting, we're still gonna
We're
be.
still within that.
We're still within a
That's
month. I don't think there's any and even if that would have put us over, I'd say it's our process that would stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I would sort of stop the clock.
It's our decision to table it till next time,
Yeah.
so we don't need to put the burden on the applicant or owner
Right.
in this case. Yeah. That makes
yeah,
sense.
maybe if he wanted to change his, just change it. I mean, just leave it up to him, I mean. But I think, you know, down the road, an applicant that doesn't exist, it just doesn't seem to make sense. That's
Well,
all.
I mean, it's fascinating that, I mean, Joe, the point you're bringing is quite correct, because when we look for, blah, 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 if I go down this,
What's the process for changing the applicant after an order of conditions has already been issued?
I don't think
I don't think I've ever had to
you have to do anything.
Okay.
And, okay, there, that's the problem. Signature of applicant is Mark Elbag. That's the problem.
Does it make any difference if the deed for the property is in Mark's name or the Elbag brother's name?
But a deed to the property is in Elbag Brothers.
Right. But that doesn't
Right,
have any
but
bearing on the
They
applicant.
own, they
That's
are
right.
the owners
They're
of the
not
property.
necessarily the same.
Right, so we would want the applicant to not be ZPT if Mark's signing as the applicant.
And if CPT doesn't exist.
Then
Well, we don't
it's
know
o-
that.
It's
We
We
don't
okay,
don't know that, right.
it's okay for him to put himself in and sign it. It's okay for somebody from ZPT to sign it if they still exist. It's all okay, but we just need consistency there.
Yeah.
Well, ZPT is the applicant on the order.
Yep.
And then Elbag Brothers is the property owner.
Somebody else coming in.
At some point. Not now.
Mm.
Maybe we should look up one of the other solar fields and see who the applicant was, whether it was the,
We have several under ZPT Energy.
not
Yeah.
ZPT, I'm talking about one of the other
Different one.
solar
One of the
fields.
different companies.
The one off,
Was yours ZPT, Skip?
no,
No, then there we go, that's when we can look at least see who the applicant was.
I'm thinking of Glenwood, not Glenwood, Pleasantdale, behind Rutland Sportsman's.
Oh, yeah, oh, that one, right up there on Wachusett Street?
Yeah, did we write that to the solar company, or did we write that to the owner? That would be the question, huh?
Yeah, right, it would be.
Don't have to resolve that now. So we have table this for now?
We're gonna table these two. I'm gonna ask you to
I'll reach out to Mark.
reach out to Mark so we can get something straightened away. And we will absolutely take some easy action at the next meeting, I imagine. So that takes care of that and that. And so now I'm going to continue the hearing for the notice of intent, Rutland Self-Storage 232 Barre Paxton Road. I'd like a motion to continue to the next meeting, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Clock eye.
Telco Eye.
Gentilucci eye.
Crane Eye, all right. Yeah,
These are the ones we're just waiting for DEP now.
we're waiting for the DEP number, and that's all. So now I'm going to, this is a continuing, right. I'm going to continue the hearing for the notice of intent for the Senkos on Turkey Hill Road, Lot 1. Jared, I don't have any of your photos.
Did I take?
I didn't take any. I'm pretty sure you took some. I'm pretty sure Scott took some, and Scott's not here. So we did the walk, and very briefly, our concern was that this pond, we're beginning to think, is in fact a wetland now. Even though it was created by the farmer way back when, probably spring fed. We got all that, but it
Right, but it's under 5,000 square feet.
yes, it's under 5,000, so it's not that the work can't be done, but it's that it's being considered outside the wetland from this plan point of view. And
Is there
so
a connection?
well, we know that everything flows out of here down and into these wetlands.
So you do have a connection.
We saw it in action.
Yes.
Good. All right. That changes it.
And Julian preferred that it wouldn't be considered a wetland, primarily because there's a lot more work to do because it's over some minimum size that he is intending to fill, and replication and all of that. But so I mean,
Does he even have any good place to replicate?
Scott seemed to mentioned that he thought he saw something. I just don't know that if it's on this property. Jared, do you remember that part of the conversation?
I thought we talked about probably could replicate further, I'll say plan south. Because if all that water from the farm pond, it's just going to head down into that wetland. I think it's technically to the southeast.
Yeah, this is southeast.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, something over here? Gradient lines.
Yeah,
or just-
potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would get a flow. You could,
You could just kind of extend the wetland
yeah.
over a little bit, and probably at the lower elevations would make sense.
And I think it wouldn't impact the build plan pretty much at all. Because he wasn't thinking of going over here anyway. I mean,
Right.
he was going to go here for the driveway anyway. But this whole area is down gradient, and I'm not sure I'd want to do it here just because we're sort of stretching away from the wetland.
Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna come across it. You're gonna extend this way
Yeah.
anyway. Because if you do anything here, it's gonna naturally try to go downhill anyway.
It will.
It
Yeah.
will. Problem is, that's the property line right there. They'd have to keep it on their property.
Well, or if they could get permission from the Sieglers.
That's true. You got a little
Yeah, he's already, I
triangular,
mean,
triangular area there.
this is rather worthless to these folks.
Probably.
Yeah,
that would be up to them to negotiate
Right.
that. I'm not
Right.
telling them what
Yeah.
to do.
And granted, and they wouldn't even go over here, they would just extend this wetland line out.
Yeah.
I think there's some good space, again, I'm not a wetland scientist, but I suspect that the soils will be sort of naturally in a good state.
Being the naturally devious person that
Yeah.
I am, I'm a little surprised that this is wetland here at this grade, okay,
I was just gonna ask
and
the
that the
same
wetland is
thing.
here and not
And not
also
there,
here.
Because you're running parallel to the contour, so it's the same elevation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
so I'm wondering if it's just not,
Yeah.
I'm
'cause
wondering
this
if it
is-
isn't already wetland.
Maybe.
You know, that possibility exists.
Yeah,
All right.
well, I mean, we sort of have to trust that,
Julian's doing this one, he can
Yeah.
do, he can do a couple test bores for us, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't see any flags. What's that? Wetland flags. That say V1 right there. If you follow that line, plan south, I don't see any more flags along that line.
come on.
Well, probably because across the property line, he didn't go on the
There
other.
it is.
Maybe.
Right, yes, he probably wouldn't want to go
But
there.
how is that line defined without flags?
It may have been defined on a different plan.
Maybe. Yeah.
There may be a separate plan. Because if there's that much wetlands on that property, there's probably some, if there's anything existent there, which I'm pretty sure there is, it's probably already delineated.
There are a few people on Zoom, so I'm going to ask, first of all, is there anyone online who would like to speak about this property? Oh yeah, I forgot to say, at the very opening of the meeting, we're being broadcast on channel 192, we're being recorded, it'll go onto YouTube eventually, we're also streaming to the internet, and naturally enough, to Zoom. There, it's only 25 minutes late. Okay, so our question is, before us, what do we do?
I was hoping to hear a little more information as to why it's not a wetland.
Okay.
Because it's not flagged as a wetland on the plan.
It's
but-
not,
but
right.
I don't know, just, again, I'm not a wetland scientist either.
Yeah.
But looking at it in the field, just had me questioning that. And I looked through the wetland regs, and there's nothing I could find specific that excludes anything that's man-made.
Right,
Just kind of a blanket exclusion. I don't see anything in there. I know there's the exclusion for stormwater BMPs, but this is not that. This isn't for stormwater management. This was for, I think presumably for
Oh,
farming, livestock, right?
livestock originally.
Right? So, I don't know. That's where I'm coming from.
okay, so, I think I'd like a motion to continue. I think we want to send an email to Julian to ask him to show up for this one, the next meeting. I'm kind of surprised he's not here today, because he knew we had questions, but things happen, I get it.
That's October 19th.
Yes.
Yes.
You want a motion to move or postpone?
Motion to continue,
Motion continue. Not, whatever.
to that date that she said.
I got it.
A second.
There we go.
Clock eye.
Delco I.
Gentilucci, aye.
Crane eye. Alrighty. So that's all the hearings. So now, let's move into our building permit for 160 Wachusett Street. So, this started off, to give everybody a little background, especially the people who are online who don't know, this started as a building permit request, and I recalled doing a site walk some years earlier when, as part of an NOI, an order of conditions for it, that we didn't have electronically. The current owner of this property discovered that the current orders expired in August, and he started his submission for building permit in September. He discovered that he was basically a month out of date on his orders, that he needs to get them renewed. We started asking other questions. We did a quick site walk, fairly quick, a couple weeks ago, which got us into bigger questions. So I went and dug through our records up in the town hall and found the initial notice and the map, the site plan. You all have, if anybody have access to the Google Drive, has an electronic copy of the notice of intent, which of course is a little fuzzy because my scanner's not a perfect scanner, sorry, but I think it's all readable. And has the site plan. I don't have the paper copy because I got it to people who could scan it today. So this is scanned today. And what I've got to say offhand is this looks a lot like what we thought, which is, hey, you know, here are the controls. We didn't go very far in, and we saw what we suspected were wetlands. So this map's kind of aligns with what we saw.
Yeah.
Is anyone here to speak about 160 Wachusett Street? No, darn it, because I wanted to ask questions about whether there are any changes to this plan, basically. Because I don't have a problem with the plan. I didn't have a problem 6 years ago when we first issued and and then when we extended them. I just want to know if there are changes or not, or if this is still the build plan for the septic and the house and all of that. And the well, for that matter. And
But the well looks right.
Yeah.
yeah, it does. We do have to send them a letter though, because there was clear breach through the controls
Yes.
from when they dug the well.
Yep.
Who am
So,
I sending the letter to? The applicant?
current owner,
Okay,
because that's all we've got for record now.
and we're asking them to reinstate the
Yes.
erosion barriers.
Yep.
Got it.
And you know, get the erosion controls back to being functional and all of that.
So would we agree to hold everything in abeyance at this point until such time as those questions are answered, or
Well-
are we gonna make them jump through all hoops?
So let's start at the beginning. And the beginning is where did I put? Oh, I didn't put the orders, the extension request. Let me find that, because that actually has a lot of good. Oh, that's the wrong one. 160. Oh, well, that's another thing where I have to say this. The applicant should not be Ralph Anderson.
No, they were on the other two,
Right.
that's why.
This
Who filed this?
this one is the most recent one. So this is what was attached by the current landowner. So August 8th is our first magic date, which says that the our first order conditions were issued August 8, 2015. Our second orders were from August 8, 2018 to 21, which means that they technically expired on the 8th of August of this year. If I were to go digging through Viewpoint and pull it all up, I could find that they first put in the building permit and discovered this is expired in early September. I don't have the exact date of this year.
Okay.
But it was, and everything after that date, in my opinion, is us trying to get our act together to find the records and understand what was going on.
Okay,
So
that was my question.
Yeah.
We're going to just hold this until we get our questions answered? Or are we going to ask them to
Refile.
refile?
I have a hard time asking them to refile on this.
I would too,
Me too.
so, okay.
So I think that an order of conditions is appropriate when properly filed, because again, this has Ralph Anderson is the applicant, which is, as usual, you know, I get that's why they did it, because it's just the way it always was. But he should put his own name as applicant on here, and then everything will flow nicely.
Yes. So why don't we ask that question? And ask ask them to resubmit the paperwork with the change in applicant.
And to fill in
any
the,
changes that may have existed from original plan.
right, and to fill in the DEP numbers.
I actually was just granted access to Viewpoint today.
Oh,
So
okay.
would you like me to go in and respond to this gentleman with this information through Viewpoint, or just grab his email?
No,
and
I'd rather
send
do
him?
it through Concom for this one.
Okay, can you find the email address in Viewpoint, like if I went in,
Yes,
show me it?
yes.
Okay, and then I can send it separately?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
There is an existing DEP file number on this.
There is one. I know I found it, and
Yeah, it's in here.
in fact, it was in my email, so we know there's a,
0456?
yeah, that sounds right.
Yes, 2770456.
Peter, just for my own knowledge.
Yes.
Is there a limit as to how many times you can extend an order of conditions?
Properly, no.
Okay.
Practically, there comes a point where you want to do another site walk or or another delineation to see if the wetlands conditions have changed. That's really the only reason that it's 3 years, is because that's the nominal time that it takes for wetlands to change by
Okay,
the DEP's thoughts. So we could keep going literally forever.
interesting, okay.
I don't know that we would, but I don't know we wouldn't. We haven't. Let's not talk about that policy. So yes, we will definitely want to talk. Yeah. So this is what we need,
Mhm.
and we'll continue that way.
Okay.
Did he have anybody representing him?
No.
All right, because Julian did the original.
To quote an email from
yes.
Julian, I don't believe I'm involved in this project any longer.
Yeah, well, that
Also,
was
not
my
shocking.
understanding that he's not involved, but
Yeah.
just curious if these folks had gotten someone else involved.
I don't know. That's probably another worthwhile question to ask.
Especially if they make any changes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's asking you if they're working with an engineer currently?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just move this one along for now.
Yeah. So we'll just table this, and that's fine.
Do we want to make a motion to do that? Do we need to make a motion to do
If we
that?
need to, this is just
It wasn't a hearing.
Yeah. Right. We're not in a hearing, so
Yeah,
I mean,
so
we
we
could.
don't-
Yeah. It's just sort of the will of the commission kind of thing to take no action right now.
Okay, so we want to move it that way?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'll make the motion then.
Oh wait, what are we making a motion?
Basically, to send the communications to the current landowner
Right,
to get questions and
Invite them in.
and to defer.
right, to
Just-
defer any action until the new owners address the commission's questions.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Clock eye.
Delco, aye.
Gentilucci, aye.
Crane eye. Maybe I need to shake the order up again.
Keep us on our toes.
Exactly.
Slash wake us up.
Alrighty, what is next? Let's close that. And close that. I like when the numbers get shorter.
So the next one I left on there just as a placeholder.
Right.
I did hear back from Chris Lucas and they confirmed the site walk for Friday, October 15th at 2 p.m.
So that's
which is
this coming Friday, if my
No,
math.
next
No,
Friday.
next Friday.
Yep, and I'll send out a reminder
What time?
email.
2 p.m.?
2 p.m., yep. That was the date and time you guys had agreed to at the last meeting, and it just took a little bit for him to confirm with the client, but they're good to go. He said the best place
Sidewalk.
to meet is gonna be in the school parking lot, and
Right.
if that changes, he'll tell me.
Okay, so that's just confirming
Yeah.
Yes, just confirming what
I hate to be a
you said
stickler
last
for
time.
detail.
Yeah.
Which school?
I was gonna
I
ask the
believe
same
it's
question.
Central Tree.
That's,
I can confirm that.
let's just confirm that so we
Sure.
don't have half the people at Naquag and the other half at Central Tree.
You got it.
Oh, we can do like we did the last sidewalk, yeah, we just call each other and,
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that's true.
even though if you could've looked around the curve a little bit and waved.
All right. So that's nice. All right. Conservation restriction for Maple Hill Estates was thrown a curve at the last planning board meeting, which became, because of me, loud and a little obnoxious. So,
I'm proud of you, Peter.
Could you do that, Peter?
It was a good time.
well, I also misrepresented one fact, but beyond that. So this is the original A&R. And this whole area is open space with access for the Concom or our agents through this easement across this little, you'll notice there is a 5-foot wide strip of property along the edges. And all of this will eventually be owned by the Suzerkos. At least that was the original plan. This is what's been accepted, this is, and so when we edited the conservation restriction, this was our understanding of how things were and sort of based everything we did. Then, at the last planning board meeting, came this change. And you'll notice that there is not anything that goes from here to here any longer. This goes up and across the back here, across this, that easement, and then shoots up here. This, as it says right here, proposed, no, not drainage easement, where is it? Yes, parcel A, not a buildable lot, blah, 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 to be conveyed to the Suzerkos and become part of whatever this deed is, and I don't know which one it is. So open space is no longer a single parcel, it's now 2 parcels with a strip of private land in between.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, here's what I found out after the meeting. A fence will be built in this 5-foot strip of land to separate the Suzerkos land, which this land will be included in that, from this land that will not be the Suzerkos.
Why?
I don't know. And that's between the Suzerkos and Clee and the lawyers.
I'm looking at it at an angle, excuse me.
So all of the loudness that happened in that meeting really came down to one thing, and Clee and I talked about it afterwards, and I sort of explained the situation. Clee said, "Oh, so you just need an easement?" I said, "Yes." So he's going to give us an easement across this property for our access and maintenance to parcel 1A. So then we have unfettered access, and I've been told there will be gates in the fence to allow us access from here onto 1B and then around here to get to 1A. Now, we have not seen, all I can say is the current conservation restriction that we worked on, that we sent back to Clee and to George, has been reviewed by the state, we've been told, and is in George's desk somewhere.
I can believe that.
All right, I've got a question.
Yes.
This is saying 3,687 square feet.
Yep.
So that's this.
No. That's this.
This.
Hold on. That's this thing that starts off this map, comes up, shoots here and here, and follows each segment of this 5-foot thing. That the total of that is 0.08 acres.
Okay. So where does it show that this and this are being conveyed to here?
It's not, because it doesn't, that's
Because the
that's not
fence-
important, right, what is
Well, the
important,
fence is dividing the open space.
yes,
Now, is the open space privately owned?
yes.
So
We are being given a conservation restriction, we are not given title to the land.
Right,
So the title of the land at CB Blair Development Corp., I believe, are the current owners of all of this stuff that is all the open space and all of these little teeny pieces. Today, that is all CB Blair. And what he did was to cut out these 5 foot wide segments for the purpose that I understand is to build a fence, but he needed to in order to, that 5 foot stretch was always going to be conveyed to the Suzerkos. It was just originally going to be extended out here and not break up the parcel, the open space parcel.
right. But this piece here is not gonna be part of this,
Well,
or conveyed to,
right. This may in the future be conveyed. I've been told that's
Okay.
sort of the idea is in the long run that it will be titled to the Suzerkos, because Clee doesn't want to pay property taxes on any of that open space. And I've also, one of those things we hear from through the grapevine is that 1A is likely to go up to the Martins. So it'll still always be privately held
okay.
and conservation land and all of that goodness.
Peter, on the left side, parcel B,
Yeah,
which is another small area,
Uh-huh.
same thing, 5 foot strip, is there another fence going in over there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I tried to ask what the purpose of that was, and Clea
That might
wasn't
be
there,
enough.
and the person who was there wanted to ignore it, so I,
no, see, they're actually showing it being conveyed,
to the people down below.
Yes.
Plan
Yeah.
South, yeah.
all right? So it's going somewhere.
Yep,
It's more of a planning board issue, I think, than our issue.
yes. It is, it absolutely is a planning board issue.
And like you said, the conservation restriction, it's not giving us ownership of the land, it's just putting those restrictions we talked about.
Yes, and gives
on
Concom access.
access. Yeah,
We have the right to inspect it.
right.
You know, make sure they haven't torn it all down and.
Yeah, the trees are still there, the brush is still
Yeah.
there, you know.
Is there access for the general public too?
No,
Okay, okay.
that was in fact my biggest mistake at the planning board meeting, is I brought up public access, which I should not have, because that's not granted by this CR.
Got it, okay. I couldn't remember it either, so that's good to know that, okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at somewhere down the road, you know, which side of the fence are we gonna be allowed to walk on?
Well, we need to be 2.5 feet from it.
So you walk sideways.
Exactly. My joke to Clee was that he needs to get a fence opening roughly this wide with just a few more inches. So this is pretty much just to keep everybody up to date on this. We don't have any action to take until we get the CR back from George/Clee.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, and I'm not sure I want to open this can of worms, but it's only 10 to 7, what the hell. It's very strange to me that you would have a single CR that covers 2 parcels.
I don't think you would. I think you need 2 CRs.
That's what I was thinking, but again, I'm gonna let the lawyers deal with it.
Right, but again, it's a question of change in status at some point in the future.
Yeah.
if the Concom were to, you know, some future Concom were to allow something to happen there, you know, where it
Mhm.
becomes the city of Rutland rather than the town of Rutland or whatever. You know, 100 years down the road.
My God, you have grandiose plans. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
100 years down the road, you know. But again, I think it's clear to have each thing assigned to its each thing, you know.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think with only a single CR, it gets very messy.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell you the car with, you know, but two of the wheels I'm retaining ownership of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Those are the ones
lean.
that fly.
yeah, they're both
I
flat.
forget, the original CR, I'm assuming, did that reference a parcel number? I'd have to go back.
It does, well, it does have a legal definition of the property.
Yeah.
So when there was only a single lot, it made it really simple and
Yeah.
proper to do a single CR. Again, I'm gonna let the lawyers tackle how many CRs they need, how it gets attached to each deed.
Yeah, no problem. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we ended up seeing two CRs on that.
Yeah,
I would almost bet on it.
maybe that's why it's just sitting on George's desk, because there's more work to do. Because that means he needs to start again on another CR.
Right.
No, I'll just copy one and just change.
Well, I mean, review process,
Yeah,
which through us, we can compare really easily. And from them, you know, going through the state again, I don't know what. Now, I did ask what I consider a fascinating question to the planning board, and I haven't gotten an answer yet. Hypothetically, let's stay away from this. Hypothetically, in order to, part of the subdivision, for part of the open space subdivision says you have to deal with the open space in one of a couple ways, and one of those ways is a conservation restriction, which is what's been done, or the plan they're going down. What happens if the conservation restriction that's written is never accepted by the town? If it is, as I love to say, abhorrent to the town, or if they don't have proper access, that there isn't a way to actually implement it properly, if they had already and if we use this plan as an example, if that 5-foot strip of land had already been conveyed to the Suzerkos without an easement, so we didn't have access to 1A, then it can't be part of a conservation restriction, and that violates the subdivision approval. What happens?
Is this a question for lawyers again?
Again, well, I started by asking the chair of the planning board and the town planner,
Yeah.
because I figured they'd at least have some idea. I mean, maybe it means that the street, because the houses are up.
yeah,
This subdivision's done. Maybe all it means is that the town won't accept the street until the CR is done. That's okay.
Yeah.
He's going for street acceptance at fall town meeting.
I know he is. This is why this question becomes timely.
yeah.
Because if all the good, again, this is up to other people, and it's not purely it's not actually jurisdictional to Concom. But this is sort of how my mind works in the
Yeah.
dark of night.
Well, it wouldn't be setting precedent for the town to accept a roadway without all of the T's crossed and
True.
I's dotted. It would not be, we're not breaking new ground there. Patriot Estates, we ran into that, where Conservation Commission had submitted that things were not necessarily all approved. That the work was done, I mean, but the I's weren't crossed.
Yeah, it wasn't
The I's
strongly
weren't crossed
finished.
and the T's weren't dotted, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay. Now, I've spoken enough about Maple Hill Estates unless someone has questions or comments.
Peter, I just have a question out of curiosity. So say the Suzerkos were to sell their property, does that then just automatically transfer to the new ownership?
Yes, it's on the deed, so
Okay, so it's
CB
follows
Blair,
the property.
CB Blair will get the CR, he's the current owner. It'll be registered with the deed,
Mhm.
so any transfer of ownership, the CR is forever, quote unquote.
That's probably why it hasn't already been transferred.
Yeah. And if they did the transfer, if they actually split the ownership of 1A and 1B, you would require 2 CRs, because only the owner of the land can request a CR.
Right. And then if he conveys the land, he would need to convey the CR. And you can't convey the same CR to two different.
Well, but they did, if they do split, well, again,
That's their problem.
yeah. Okay.
So we just wait to see what happens.
Yep. Oh, that's one out from ZPT. All right, moving on. Brentnall Estates. Who wants to talk about what we saw on Brentnall Estates?
Well, things were actually working reasonably well, even though they were not necessarily.
Well, let's actually be a little more clear. That's a temporary crossing, by the way, that they put in. The temporary crossing is doing its job very well. Their sedimentation control, their filters, their ponds, their pumps, working beautifully.
I feel a butt coming.
Yeah.
It's actually nice to see things working nicely.
It is. It's nice to see. It happens rarely enough. In fact, it happens rarely enough that I felt obligated to compliment Clea on that when I wrote the letter. But the fact that all the erosion controls are wrong.
The question is, though, when you come right down with, it's one of those cases where you let the sleeping dogs lie. Because I think you'd do more damage to change anything at this point than you're gonna prevent.
Well, but there's no sedimentation control at all. Those barriers, they ain't. Not only do they not stop anything, and Clee himself recognized that the first crossing controls are just all wrong.
Well, actually,
One of the things I did mean to pull up, but I just ran out of time, was to actually get. Oh, we have their most recent Brentnall Estates plans.
Yes, I uploaded it to the drive.
We have it in the drive, and I have it right here. Let me go.
It's on a special folder.
Let me. So I go to Brentnall Estates.
He was very good about that. I emailed him to ask him, and he got it back to me within a few minutes. He responded right away.
Yeah. Not to pat my own back on this, but it's because I asked him for it the night before.
I actually mentioned that in my email. I said, Peter may have already
They've
asked
asked
you,
you,
but I'm going to follow
So he
up.
probably sent it to me like 3 minutes before he sent it to
Probably.
Anyway, that's that. I think this is the one I want to pull up. Yeah, this is crossing number 1, which is, this is the detail, this doesn't have any of the erosion controls in it, does it?
It does.
Oh, right here.
Yes. That dash line.
Yeah. But in any event, folks mentioned that the hay bales were oriented improperly, and much of the silt fence was above and no better than on the ground, is absolutely not installed into the ground. I have not heard anything from Clea or Tom since I sent the letter saying those things, so
Tom did send an email, was it today or yesterday? And I don't remember if it specifically addressed that, but he did mention something about the trees in that email.
yeah, I think he was, so I actually got that letter out to Clea as early as I could because I knew that the DCR was gonna visit a couple days later. And did anybody from Concom make it to that visit? I couldn't.
No,
Okay.
I did not.
So I suspect Concom wasn't there at all, because we knew, we knew from the
Well,
text.
DCR was more, going over more for the tree cutting, one thing.
They were, so I would still have expected them to catch it. Apparently they didn't, fine, whatever.
I don't know that they would catch this necessarily.
Maybe. Well, that's true, they would have no reason to even go near this stretch, they
Right.
would have gone up into
They would have
that.
been up in the back, so.
We did a lot of walking that day, because,
Is it really muddy? up
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
still haven't shaken all the, I was up to my ankles.
there? Jeez, that stinks.
So let me see. Do that.
Well, with the mud I took off my boots, I was able to fill another quarter acre.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna, I don't know that we're gonna hear anything from DCR on any of this.
It doesn't
As
sound
far
like
as the
it.
tree cutting goes, I'm under the impression that the tree cutting was negligible anyway. And not
This
in
will
what,
open up. Okay.
near
that's-
what,
Right.
so we wouldn't even be bothered with that.
Right, so,
Based on the plan we've gotten last time, it looked like all the area was where house lots are gonna be anyways.
yeah, so but I would expect them to cut it all at once, but I agree that we ended up, yeah, we were definitely up this hill.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So this area up here is where he segregated all the loom that'll spread towards the end of the project, I imagine.
Yep,
that's all, everybody's back, front yard, backyard.
right.
Yeah. But, so when we saw all these trees that were all over the place, oh, and look. Oh, yeah, we walked up
that
against
edge.
this.
Yep, we
Yeah,
walked
yeah.
that. We found some of the flags.
So I don't think we have anything else to do on this other than just keep an eye on it, visit periodically.
Yeah, given the rain that we've had this season and the aging on those
Mhm.
controls, I'm surprised things,
That aren't much worse.
I mean,
I'll
I
go with
would have
that.
expected to see, maybe something not on the order of Bear Hill, but,
No, it
somewhere,
could have been,
somewhere between here and there.
that's true, today would have been a good day to go up there. Well, tomorrow will still be a good day to go up there, just to get on site and see how things are holding up.
Well, if they weren't, I mean, we would have seen that when we went there.
Yeah,
Because we've had.
yeah, no, you're right, there's been a lot of rain this whole
And it
season.
is, none of those controls are new.
Right,
Those controls are, quite aged.
right, so we knew that there were real problems over in this wetland that need to be fixed. We knew that there are around here where they piled up all the loom, that some of it went over the controls.
Yep.
But that's, again, pretty easy breaches to fix.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, I don't think we have action. I think I just wanted to bring this up before the entire commission, make sure that everybody is on the same page on where we think we are and the things that we think need to be done.
One thing that's probably worth noting, I don't think we talked about this before, the loam pile,
Mm-hmm.
if that's gonna sit there, I think, if that's sitting there for at least 2 weeks, it's probably gonna be a lot more than that. It
Good
needs-
Lord, yes, much more.
It needs to be temporarily stabilized. Per their SWIP and NIPDIS permit.
What would you wanna see? Would you wanna see tarp?
Either tarp or, you could seed it.
Yeah, a little.
Tarp's a little bit
late
easier.
for seeding, but,
Yeah, that's a big pile of tarp though.
yeah, it's a lot.
But I just feel like it's worth mentioning that you're not allowed to leave a stockpile alone like that if it's not being used. I think it's 14 days is the cutoff.
I'm gonna ask you to write a letter, we'll have Tamika send it. We sent one, we'll send one more.
You do that.
I think that's a good catch, yeah. I'm wondering if you might wanna put something to, no, never mind, I'm not an engineer, stay the hell out.
What about that netting?
Which one? Like erosion control blankets?
Yeah. In a case like that, I don't know, it looks kind, it might be dubious, but it'd be easier to do.
Well, so the issue with leaving stockpiles out, it's really preventing the spread of sediment and also for dust control, which isn't really an issue this time of year, but that's the other reason for it. So putting any sort of like jute mesh, erosion control blankets, things like that, that's really more intended for if you seed it, you put that down so it kind of holds everything in place while it germinates. If you just put down erosion control blankets, I've never really seen that done. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you might as well put a tarp down.
Tarp's probably a lot cheaper.
Well, the thing is with the tarps are not, they're impervious
Mm-hmm.
for the
Yes,
most part.
but that's the reason you would
And
use
then
them for a stockpile.
Then you deal with runoff.
Yeah,
You're moving a problem. That's why I'm thinking, that the blanket may be,
but it's clean runoff.
yes, it's
Right,
clean
it's
runoff
at
until
least
it
clean.
falls off the tarp
Yeah.
at high velocity.
Well, yeah.
That's where I have a,
That's also why around
And
stockpiles, you typically have a second erosion control barrier at the base of the stockpile,
right,
separate from your perimeter barrier. That's pretty typical
Mhm.
too.
see, then you gotta weigh the amount of labor to do it, whether you're gonna get somebody to do it.
Well,
I look at the blanket kind of as functioning as a brake
Yeah,
more than anything
It-
else. If you
it'll-
don't build the velocity, you won't move the sediment.
right. And the blankets do help to hold the soil in place, so there is some benefit to them.
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if, based on the labor and intensity here, and then the enforcement later on, I mean, it's gonna become a headache for us. Do we wanna give them an option?
mm-hmm.
I mean, not to design the job for them.
Well, exactly, I'm willing to let them figure out how to solve the problem.
Yes. I think it's more just pointing out, and this is just based on my own knowledge of writing SWIPs and dealing with NIPDIS permits on my projects, is that's a requirement
Mm-hmm.
per the construction general permit. And they're certainly subject to that because they're well over an acre.
Yeah.
So,
You think?
yeah. So I'm assuming they probably already have a NIPDIS permit, so they have a CGP in place, and per that CGP,
Mm-hmm.
anytime a stockpile is not gonna be used for more than 14 days, it has to be stabilized in some way. And there's many ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However they decide to do it is totally up to them. Whatever's easiest for them is, in my mind, perfectly fine.
It's what's acceptable to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's close down that one, let's close down this one. Stormwater concern Arrowhead Drive, this is pretty much just to keep everybody up to date. So Arrowhead Drive is at that marvelous nexus between Bear Hill and Brentnall Estates, or is it Bear Hill 2? I've lost track.
I think that's Barre Hill too.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And so there is a particular property that is getting, there is a storm drain adjacent to the property and it's getting a lot of stuff in it, so we were notified along with DPW and planning. And according to the latest info from Tom Larson, they're going to actually raise the grate and put erosion controls or at least hay bales, straw bales around it to prevent crap from getting in.
Yeah, the problem there is, we did that once before, DEP took exception to that. We did that on Maple Ave, we allowed hay bales to be put around a storm drain. And DEP made a phone call and gave notifications that they did not want the hay bales around the storm drain because you defeat the purpose of the storm drain.
All I can say is that they sure as heck allowed it on Bryce Lemon. I can point to.
Well, I think they put themselves in the corner on
Yeah.
that one.
So, I've also been told that the silt that's made it into the stormwater collection system is reported to be minimal. So, this is just another one of those construction areas we're gonna have to keep our eyes open, that's all. Because we forwarded all the emails, did we? Did we forward all the emails to the entire Concom?
Yes, not all of them. I believe I just did the initial one, but I don't think I had done the most recent one from Tom Larson.
Let's send that out also, please,
Sure.
just so everybody has that same info.
This is an area of the subdivision that's done, completed, right?
No, this is on the awful border.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know where this is, okay.
I do know that an address on Arrowhead Drive keeps coming up at every planning board meeting.
Oh, really?
So, oh yeah.
Is this where it hits Brintnall Drive?
I don't remember, I haven't
Okay.
looked at the maps.
Yeah, I think this is the one that starts up on like that area up in Barre Hill too, and then it comes down and
Yep.
goes right down to Brintnall
Okay,
Drive. Yeah,
okay.
it didn't used to, but now it does.
Gotcha.
You think I want to take it right over?
I'm just trying to think of where it is. I think I know exactly where it is now. I'm looking at the map, and
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with Arrowhead Drive. But I've been up Brentnall enough that I think I know which one it is now.
Yeah, it's pretty much as soon as you turn onto it from Wachusett.
Yeah, yeah,
Goes up a
okay, yep,
hill.
yep, that's what I thought, okay.
Moving on to 1625 Cannon Road. We finally heard back from town council today that basically said everything that we've done, we need to start again for asking for administrative warrant. And the examples they give have some fascinating Board of Health specifics in it that we're gonna have to strip out and start. We basically need to start again, which is unfortunate. I wish I'd known this 5 weeks ago, but
What was the holdup on it?
we sent it off. We asked for status. They gave us the here's what you really need to do email today.
I sent it back in August.
Yeah.
And
So it
then
was really a
nobody.
lack of response on
Yeah.
town council's part.
Yes, there was no response until today, and I submitted like 8 weeks ago.
Right, but I wanted
I've
to
been
get
counting
that out
them.
in the open and on the table and out the record.
Yes. Yep.
All right, moving on, so, not moving on,
What
yes.
about the email?
Yeah, I was just
Do we need
thinking
to
about,
address that?
well, let me quickly reread it if I can. That's one you sent me. There we go. Okay, yeah, I should probably put this up. Let me first do the zoom, make it readable. Oh yeah, it's this way. So from the landowner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I thought. So she said she was following with NRCS in Holden. Refresh my memory, what the hell is NRCS?
Natural resource.
Soils.
Yeah.
Soils people.
Natural
Yes.
conservation resource, something or other.
Yep, down there in Holden by the old Holden Hospital.
And the magic words, the fascinating words I should say, I understand our farm to be in a conservation plan. I don't know what that means. Can
What
anyone shed
NRCS
light?
does, what they would do in this case is advise the soil types and all kinds of, the
Right.
technical background of what exists.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would submit a plan, or draw up a plan for the farm, right, in order to lay out best practices type of situation where they would, okay, for argument's sake, the soil here, you don't want traffic on, farm animal traffic. You want them kind of guided in this direction, or
I know I've had communication with this gentleman, Robert Purcell, about this specific thing. I'm just gonna check my inbox and see if I can find it, because
NRCS can be a good, like I said, way back in the beginning of this, when I advised her to go to NRCS,
Mhm.
they can be a good resource. And give them ways to stay in compliance without spending a lot of money on consultants. And it's a service
That's-
provided by the government that,
That's great, I think that's a great idea and a great service for somebody to offer.
as long as they follow up on it, that's the,
Right.
and it looks like they're a little more accepting of it. Their acceptance of this is a little better than what we had experienced
Yes,
in the
exactly.
beginning, so I would give them the opportunity to do that, and
Oh, yeah.
I hate adversarial relationships. I mean, nobody wins.
So that's the status.
so we'll just wait
Step one.
to hear from her on the progress. Is that the next step?
We're
Still
going to at
pursue.
least write up
Okay.
everything that we need to and make sure that it's, we'll have council review it, but not submit it until we're ready to take that step.
Okay.
Questions or comments?
I think what you're gonna do is wait and see if NRCS complies with what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going to bypass number 7 for a minute. We have several people online who joined the Zoom. I was just wondering if anyone had questions or comments for the commission today. Please unmute yourself, Angela Barahona. Sorry, Barahona. I apologize on that.
No, that's okay, not a problem. So I'm not sure if I had reached out to you folks. My husband and I, we live over at 26 Grizzly Drive in Rutland, and we are looking to expand our backyard. So that's why I joined the meeting today. There is an existing rock wall that goes in our backyard, so probably from our foundation out about 11 feet. And we do know that there's wetlands back there at some point. So we've reached out to a local gentleman, Eric Woolander, and we are hoping to be able to expand or extend our backyard. That way we kind of have a space back there for our kids to play.
Right, so your property is, I'm gonna simplify it and call it basically triangular.
Yes, yeah.
And, whoa, sorry, didn't mean to zoom in that far that fast. We have the wetlands in the back edge, yep, okay. Let me just zoom out, and then let me also see if we have, oh, your house is right up front, and so you have, well, what's shown on the picture, which is an old satellite map, or aerial photo is what I should say, is a treed area, so you want to basically, as you just said, extend your lawn back more towards the wetland, right?
Correct. So right now, as it exists, there's a current rock wall that was put in when we built. What we were hoping to do is go from that rock wall, add fill to that rock wall, and then as far out as you allow us to go, we would then like to put a new professional rock wall in.
Can she see that map?
Angela, you can see the map I'm showing, yes, I hope?
I can, yes, yep, thank
Good.
you so much. Yep.
All right, so look, we have the wetlands. Let me just pick a spot here. So, I mean, that's, oh, wow, okay. We don't have the plans that were submitted when this house was built, at least not in our hands. So I'm just doing a fast look at where the DEP kind of thinks your wetlands are to 100 feet. 100 feet is jurisdictional. 100 feet, within 100 feet of a wetlands is jurisdictional conservation commission. So first of all, thank you for asking before doing.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's exactly why we've reached out, because we would never want to just start a project and not have permission and disturb any, land or space that, we shouldn't be going near. The gentleman that we're working with, we're on the same page about that. So we thought that this was the right step to take, but like I said, there's not any backyard back there. I mean, there's about 11 feet on one side, and I think it goes out to maybe 15 feet when you go down the fence line a little bit, but there's still not any space back there for the kids, so.
Okay, so just to be sure I understand, is this fence or rock wall or both?
So I would say that if you could, the fence line, if you move the little icon, yep, yes, so you can actually see the fence in this picture. And you can see the rocks down below. This is actually a good picture. So just past the house on each side, you can see where that dark line runs.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's where the fence line is presently. We just kind of had that up so the kids didn't fall back on the rock.
Right. So how much fill do you need to bring in? Well, that's a wrong. So how far back do you want to go?
As far back as you'll allow us to go to have space for the kids to play back there. So we don't have, as far as you'll let us go without disturbing anything.
So I go ahead.
Maybe we wanna go out and take a look.
It's probably the most right thing for us to do. advising from old aerial photos is never the best idea. The what, roughly where is I understand that there are some sediment controls, hay bales, stuff like that on the property right now?
Yep, so probably from the fence line, and again, this is not my, forte, I guess, if you will, but I guess probably from the fence line to where the silt fence and the hay bales are is probably on one side of the house about another 10, 12 to 15 feet, I would say, right in that area where you're pointing. And
Yeah.
then as you move down a little bit farther, there's a little more space.
Yeah, I'm taking a guess that it's pretty much at the tree line.
Yes, exactly. So where your icon is right now, that's all just rock. I mean, it's filled in with some weeds at
Right.
this point, but there aren't any trees in that space at this point.
So my next, is there a drop off? You say there's a rock wall, that's
Yes.
okay,
Yep, it's a sloped. It's all sloped right there.
okay. All
The
right,
slope was probably left there, it was just an arbitrary, enough to give them room to walk out the basement,
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
All right, so I guess, first, the general position of the Conservation Commission is all other things being equal, we will support a landowner's desire to use the property in any way that doesn't conflict, and extending lawn by itself doesn't conflict with the needs of the act. I think that there are a couple of details that at some point we should talk about. They really have to do with managing the lawn as a lawn.
Yeah.
Where the grass clipping goes, what kind of fertilizers, and that's all because you're close enough to the wetlands themselves.
Sure, and I can tell you that we presently use a company that we feel, I believe, is very conscientious of that. So we do get some lawn care. It's Ford's Hometown Services. But again, they're aware of what's back there. The only thing that we do ever kind of treat with close to that fence line is for mosquitoes, but everything is, what they say, organic, fine for the kids, safe for pets, etc.
Right, okay. So I like Joe's idea of coming out for a visit. I think that us seeing it up close and personal, if you will, is going to be more informative to us
Sure.
than anything else. What do we think?
Are you available during the week at all?
I am available during the week. So depending upon the day that you want to come, I know the gentleman that we plan to work with, he's come out a couple of times. So he's kind of taken a look at, where the silt fence is and the hay bales, which are still up and existing. You can see those. He hasn't gone down just because of the way that the weather has been. He hasn't gone deep down in there to see if he can see where the wetland flags are. But again, it's all preliminary conversation because we knew that this was the first right step before we moved forward in doing anything. Now we have secured some of the fill at this point, and we were hoping to start within a month or so. We just don't want to lose the fill that we have. But again, you tell us when you can come out and we'll make ourselves available to your schedule.
I can go out tomorrow.
There's no way I can do it tomorrow. In fact, what does... Thursday's not awful, but honestly, Friday's better for me.
I can be available on Friday for sure.
Would you also be able to have your contractor there?
I can ask Eric if he's available to come as well. Did you have a particular time in mind or a range when I should ask him to be available?
I'm gonna go for early to mid-afternoon. So let me just pick a time, 2 o'clock.
Okay, so 2 o'clock on Friday. You got it.
Let
Yep.
me just,
I could probably make that work.
This is on, oh yeah. Which number is this? 28 Grizzly, is that correct?
26.
26.
26, thank you.
Yep, 26, the blue house over the bridge.
And if I could type, I'd be dangerous, because if I go to this address that I accidentally typed in, I won't be anywhere near where I need to be. 26. Grizzly, October 8th, which is right at 2 p.m. I don't think I'll have a problem making that. Let me also give myself a switch of travel time. Don't mind me muttering to myself and setting up alerts.
Yeah, it's gonna take me all 5 minutes to get there.
You're right, that's a good point. There's no real travel time for that
You'll
one.
probably be in the
'Cause-
neighborhood for other things anyway, so.
All right, so Angela, thank you very much for coming and asking. We will see you this Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Okay, wonderful. And may I ask one last question?
Of course.
So when you come out on Friday, do you feel as though you'll have a better kind of idea of maybe where the flags are and how far back we can go? Because that was the part that we were curious about.
Well, We're gonna have to have a think and a conversation about that. Let's start with the wetlands flags are unlikely to still exist or be readable.
Okay.
But I'm not saying they can't be. I've seen them survive, but
They usually don't.
they usually don't survive, and even if they do, they won't have numbers on them, so orienting them to the plan is gonna be a little more interesting. But
Okay.
we should be able to dig up.
I think we can give an answer at that.
At least a good indicator. We should know a lot more as soon as we see what the real conditions are there.
Okay, wonderful.
And then we'll let you know, I mean, you're close enough to wetlands that there will have to be some form of filing with the commission.
Okay, so maybe the RDA?
An RDA, I wouldn't rule out an RDA, but
Okay.
we can't say that's the right thing to do today.
Okay,
I
sure.
think that seeing the site conditions is going to go a long way.
Okay, wonderful. So we look forward to seeing you on Friday then.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have other questions or comments for the commission? No other hands. All right, we'll go back to our friendly agenda and sort of, we're not gonna go into bylaw and regulations per se today because we don't have enough people here. There were two things that I want us to start thinking about, so let's put these on the agenda. So Tamika's been doing a good job with collecting all the electronic submission stuff that we've gotten. I think we want to have a discussion about how we want to organize this so that we can find this stuff on the Google Drive whenever we need to. We've had a couple of times things get moved and shifted because things move from meeting to meeting. I just want to have an organizational scheme. So let's talk about that. Furthermore, I revisited the town clerk's office this morning and said, remember a long time ago we talked about the town doing electronic storage of records? And how we're going to do that, so we have a strategy for the entire town. I asked her to start thinking about that again. It is also not clear how, well, in the last 18 months, we've taken a lot of electronic submissions. I don't know if we've gotten paper for everything. Do you know that for sure?
The vast majority. I honestly can't think of one off the top of my head where we didn't get a paper one.
Good.
And that is what you will find stored in that 2021 box that I've been building.
Yes, and that's great.
because I always have a paper copy available to the public in the town clerk's office. So even if they've only provided me with one copy instead of multiple, I just take that copy and
Right.
add that to our files.
And that's fine. And in fact, as soon as we get the paper copy back from whoever did the scanning of the site plan for 160, we'll put it back.
Yep.
But I've been thinking that we may want to start going back through our records and making electronic copies of every open project with the commission, which is a hell of a big task, I know. To say nothing of records management, of knowing what's an open and what's not. Because I'd also, I think.
How do you determine, just to
Yep.
play devil's advocate for a minute, how do you determine what's closed?
It is a certificate of not occupancy,
Compliance.
compliance, COC, not
Compliance.
COO. The COC's been issued, it's closed, actually. If a COC has been issued and put on the deed along with the orders that are frequently not put on the deed,
There's gotta be a ton just in the subdivisions alone that
Oh.
have open orders.
absolutely, there are a bunch. So I'm not talking about this, I'm not suggesting this is a weekend job. But I think that if we were to organize our records better, then I think we can be more proactive as a commission about saying, hey, you done yet?
Yeah,
And sort of, because we know the properties all get transferred from the developer to the owner, and it's in the owner's best interest to get the certificate, but it's not, nobody knows
there
to
are
do
a lot
that.
of properties out there that do not have the certificates. For the simple fact that the last building boom,
Yeah,
when everything, the banks were throwing money at people, there were transfers taking place that nobody was paying attention to the paper. So
Yeah.
a lot of CSCs never got issued,
mm-hmm,
right? Now, the banks, for over the last couple of years, what has happened is that because of the amount of foreclosures and everything else that happened, there was no paper trail for them. They didn't have all the paperwork. So now when things transferred, they were actually looking at things, they were looking for
They're
stuff.
stricter now about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
99%
Right,
of
and
the
it would-
requests I get are because it came up on a title search and somebody's trying to either sell or refinance their
Right.
home.
Right.
Like, I don't know what this means.
yeah, we were getting
No.
requests for certificates that were, 10 years old.
10, 20.
Yeah,
Yeah, even 20.
Then again,
That's
oh,
old.
yeah.
There was a couple from 1990s
Yeah.
that I saw. And that's where you run into the problem, because you're not gonna be proactive. I mean, it's the antithesis to proactivity, because it's just so far in history.
Mm-hmm.
What I would suggest for a starting point is just go by the DEP numbers, project numbers,
Sure.
and just walk your way forward.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna ask where you start with something like that. Like how,
Well, I'm not sure this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have a discussion point. So again, this is a
Okay.
discussion point for the next, it's not on the agenda, we're not making a decision today, I just wanna have, so, yes, I think we actually need two different organizational schemes, and I don't know, because sometimes you need to do it by DEP number, and sometimes you need to do it by parcel ID.
yeah.
Well, you won't have a COC unless you have a DEP number.
Oh, that's true, that's absolutely true. Oh, wait, there's a chat that I missed.
Plus, it clearly defines how many you got that you're dealing with. Because the DEP numbers are sequential, so.
True.
So we're up to what, 500 and,
What's our latest number?
what was the last DEP number, file number?
Mark, what are the numbers?
I
No,
I think you're right, I think you're in the 500s.
Yeah.
we are easily in the 500s.
578.
Yeah.
Was the last
What was it?
578.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not that many.
It's not really that many when you come right down. And then you take out the ones that we've already issued for, So you might be surprised at how few that actually is.
Mhm.
I know, it's so
But for now,
nice.
just think of it in terms of
Bottom line.
578 things you're gonna have to do.
So,
Just to brighten up your
again,
day.
Dragging those skeletons will just make work.
this is a long-term project. I occasionally get senior worker resumes, but senior workers are only good for 50 hours before they've worked off their tax abatement. And all the work that we have to do with all the records, Tamika and I know, that's a whole lot more than 50 hours to do
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
Especially when you talk about not just the stuff. I went through the filing cabinets this weekend. We have records back to 76.
Yeah. Well, it took Peter an hour and a half just to find that NOI from 2015.
Well, that's because I started with just to make sure to see
Well,
what was
you're
in the
gonna have
filing
it back to
cabinet.
76, because that's when it started.
That's exactly right.
I mean,
So,
if you start chasing these now, it's any that are outstanding probably aren't the original owner that has
no,
the applications, so
and I'm
why-
not sure I want to do,
Why even bring it up at this point? If they're
I'm
lawyer
certainly
firms,
willing to
they'll
let
let
sleeping dogs lie, but at least I want to know what our status is on everything. And part of it's going to be, can we find the paperwork? Because we have to keep every single freaking slip of paper until the COC is registered with the registry. So we can't throw anything away today. We always have to keep maps forever. Okay, I get that, but there's a lot of NOI papers that we've got just hanging out. And I'd rather start basically now working backwards slowly over time to figure out where we are with all this, because I do want to know what we're actually allowed to not have to keep papers
I
on.
was gonna say, is that the end goal, to try to get rid of what we can get rid of?
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
makes sense.
related to that, having electronic versions of the stuff we throw away is also going to be potentially useful, but that's a whole nother long-term project. Can you tell, I got long-term
Well, you're gonna
projects on
have
the
to
brain.
dovetail at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Everything relates to everything. And it also relates to what I asked about last time, about having our database of what are our projects, where are they, how do we find them, how do I get access to it when I'm hunting for viewpoint stuff. All of this stuff interrelates. We just have to decide what we're gonna pick apart first. And I did want to ask, kind of related to that, I do have it as a separate topic for discussion. Over the past 18 months, we've got a lot of electronic copies, submissions, I should say. But I don't think we've conditioned it that we must get electronic copies of everything.
We haven't
And-
conditioned it, but I always ask for it.
Right, so I'm wondering if we want to condition it, so that we don't have to scan the paper and everything else, because they're all gonna come from somebody who more than likely has the ability to either generate the forms electronically,
They're
I don't
probably
think I've
already
seen it.
generated them electronically, so that's,
yeah, and just printed them off, because that's what
Yeah.
that's what the law says they have to do.
Yeah, I've not scanned any of them. Everything I've gotten has been submitted by the applicant.
So it's unclear to me that it makes sense to add it to our standard conditions. And it doesn't, I don't know that it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. This is just another.
I think you're on the right track.
Well, if we're
Would
talking,
it be too late at that point?
well, that's what I was gonna say, if we're talking submissions, that would need to be somewhere else.
Yeah, we don't want the submissions on
Oh, that's a good
stone
point.
tablet
right?
in
Yeah.
Sanskrit.
No, but even that, it wouldn't. Well, but whatever, anybody ever have it only in paper form, I don't think that would ever happen.
No, you want it both.
Yeah, you want,
both,
you
because
want
number one,
both.
you gotta have a paper, you have to have
So
paper
maybe
for
this has to
town
go
clerk's
into our
office.
regulations.
That's, probably that'd be a good idea. I'm also wondering, I know other towns and cities, some of them simply have on their website submission requirements. Here's how many copies you have to send us, please also provide an electronic copy. Now, I don't know if that ultimately maybe lives in their regs, and it's just, there's a document on the website
Right.
that summarizes what you need to submit. You know, we need 3 copies of your plans, report, and also please provide one electronic copy of everything.
Yeah.
DEP is doing it without regulation.
That's a good point.
They're requiring electronic submissions and it's not regulated anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you file by mail, they also require the PDF.
Yep.
Although that's not in any law or regulation. I don't know how they're doing it. But they won't give you a DEP number unless you send them a PDF because of COVID. I don't know if that'll change in the future or if that'll stay the same.
No, I think you gotta live with that forever.
So, because of DEP, you may not even have to require it because it's already going to DEP. You know what I mean? Everybody's already doing it.
That's true.
So it might not even be a big deal to just, like you said.
I think we just do it,
website.
we just tell them,
Right.
this is what we want.
And that's
If
fine.
you want a site walk and you want us to issue an order of conditions,
Yeah,
It's
and-
become the norm in this COVID world. I've never had an applicant that has pushed back or not provided it initially. Sometimes I actually have to request the paper copy.
Right,
But I always get an electronic copy.
okay. Oh,
So
that's
it's kind
fine.
of the inverse.
And as long as it stays that way, good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
if we put it up on the website,
Yeah.
I think you covered it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that, from our point of view, the fact that DEP makes them already have electronic means that our asking for it is just,
Mhm.
is no extra work for them.
Right.
No,
All right. Okay.
The RDAs might be a little different. Because you do have the homeowner submitting the RDAs.
True.
I've been scanning those in because it's such a simple form.
Right.
But a lot of people, even so, they fill it out and email it to me anyways. So, because there's not
And are
much
we-
goes with it.
are we asking for 3 sets of paper?
No.
We don't, the law says 2 sets of
The
paper.
law says 2,
Right.
I don't believe we've asked for 3. I don't,
okay.
No.
I've always-
I
I've always
heard
given
Jared say
Yeah,
Yeah.
3.
Julian always gets
Oh,
two.
that's
Yeah.
an arbitrary number.
I think we get 2 and we
You get-
hang 1
you get
and
2
give
and-
1 to Anita,
Yeah, one for,
and that we get back.
yeah. But you have to give one to the town clerk for the review,
Yeah.
public review opportunities.
Yeah, Julian always provides multiple copies. Because we tend to see the same applicants a lot, like Julian and Mark
Mhm.
and stuff like that who already know. Because I've never been into a problem where I haven't had enough copies for like the town clerk and our records.
I've always been doing 2 to you guys, 1 to DEP,
Mm.
1 to the owner.
Mhm.
Yeah, I never want us to get to the point where I'm gonna pick on Holden for a second, because Holden requires, what, 13?
Planning board's even worse. I think planning board is like 9 or 12.
One for each member.
1 for
Yes.
each member
Right.
plus
Right.
1 for blah and 1 for,
Well, then you start
Yeah.
getting into revisions, and all of a sudden you're submitting it 2, 3, 4 times, times 9.
Oh, yeah,
I went
it's-
through that recently.
Now you know where all the trees are going.
That's right.
Right, yeah, yeah.
ZPA did that too, and it wasn't until we started Zoom that we shied away from that, and I didn't push it at that point.
Mhm.
So it ended up being a good thing, I think. But yeah, it used to be a copy for every
Yep.
individual member,
I-
full-size plan sets.
I have noticed a lot of towns in Massachusetts have started reducing the number of hard copies and relying more on electronic.
Right.
The planning
makes
board, the
sense.
Rutland planning board still has a high number of copies for a lot
Yeah.
of stuff,
Mhm.
Okay.
especially special.
Hey, that
permits.
is the way to go. I mean,
Yeah, I would think so.
so I don't think it'll come as a shock to anybody.
Yeah, and that's fine, okay. Leah's having spotty reception. She wanted to remind us that Fall Town Meeting warrant is currently open. I don't think we have anything for it, but.
Oh, you weren't putting in our pay?
What's that?
You weren't gonna put in our pays?
You know I hide that from the public, Joe. Way to be private.
Yes, but I wanna pay my taxes on it, you know?
Yeah, we'll be submitting appropriate forms to the IRS this year, okay? And if anybody cares, we have no idea what free cash is and when it's gonna be truly available, but I still don't think that matters to this body, but I announce it for the sake of the board. I do wanna point out, flyer from the Rutland Open Space Committee, since they are in fact a subcommittee of ours, that the October 16th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 12 in the big room, there's a big open space information session, asking for public input.
That's on the website, isn't it?
Should be, yeah. And I'm trying to see if I can get somebody to put it on TV. If only I knew somebody who could do that. That's all for announcements. Anything else? Any other business? Actually, do we want to deal with Mark since he's here?
Yeah, why not?
That's why I came. Sorry I wasn't here earlier.
This
I
one.
made it as soon as I could. It's all approved, right? Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I didn't come.
Oh yeah, that's right. These are the.
Yeah, I just
Right.
wanted to extend it for a year to try and.
What concerned us was the applicant was still ZPT Energy Solutions. Are
Well,
they
that's
still
what's up.
around?
That's what's on the order. Yeah. So I'm gonna.
They're still in business?
I believe so. Yeah.
Not so sure.
That's the second name. They transferred from a different company before. ZPT is the updated corporation.
Oh, 0 Point.
It was 0 Point.
Yeah. And then we were dealing with ZPT on a lot of applications,
Yeah.
right?
So
So my.
to be clear, here, let me find it and
Yeah,
open it back up
go to the
again.
bottom of it and
This one? Close that. Oh, it's this one. Sorry, wrong window. Keep
Just to be
going.
upfront with you guys, my intention is to keep it active so that I can amend the filing. I'm just gonna keep the wetland delineation active.
Yeah.
So that's really the intention. So when I come back for a new, it'll be a whole new notice of intent, but I wanted to keep the wetland delineation
Right.
permitted, so I don't have to get back into the delineation and site walk and everything else, because it's already
Yeah.
done. It's a rather large parcel.
Right, so our concern was having the applicant be ZPT Energy.
Yep.
And signed by you.
Okay.
Because you're not.
No, I should have signed as owner, yep. What I can do is I can get Go to sign it as the applicant, if that helps. Go as the principal at ZPT. Or I can
Oh
say.
yeah, okay, that would be fine.
Or if you'll take it, I'll sign it as owner instead of applicant. And I can actually amend that tonight if you'd rather do that. That'd be preferable to me, that way I don't have to go back to Gove.
well, the question was, does ZPT still exist? That's,
I believe they still exist, but if it satisfies the board, I'm happy to just re-sign
the only
that
reason I'm
as
asking
owner.
question mark is down the road, to transfer this to a different,
Yeah.
why not do it now?
Well, I'm gonna do it with the new filing.
No, what I'm saying is the applicant,
Oh,
down Elbag Brothers.
if I can change that now, I definitely will. I just, because it was a renewal, I kept it the same.
The
Right,
document stays with the land.
but, right, because the NOI and the orders and the anything, and the extensions, that's all property-based, it's not person-based.
Right.
So because it transfers with the property, that's where we're kind of getting a little touchy on.
No, I think we could do it either way. Either I could be the applicant or I could sign it as the owner. I think both works. 'Cause
Yeah,
either-
why don't you
either-
do it as applicant and owner?
Yeah, I could do that. And you're okay with me renewing someone else's?
Yeah, that way,
Yeah,
down
yeah.
the road, it becomes easier for you to transfer, if you transfer that property for some reason.
Right, then it's a mess. Because I gotta get them to sign the cert. Yeah, you're right. So do you want me to just resubmit those forms?
If you just resubmit them with Elbag Brothers as the applicant,
Perfect.
we're done.
And you can sign it that way there.
Right,
Okay, that's easier. Yeah, that works.
okay?
Thank you, folks.
That keeps it cleaner.
Do you want?
Yeah, that's
If
much
something
better.
goes,
I didn't think.
whatever happens
Contingent on
5 or
receiving
10
the
years down the
documents,
road,
yes,
We'll
that's
just
I just
vote
didn't do it that way
on
because I didn't think I could.
Oh, wait,
That's
this is
even
next
better.
time.
Yeah, actually, that's that. So Mark, is it okay to basically to put off the approval for one more meeting for you to
Oh,
get?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
fine, done.
I appreciate it. Glad I stopped in. Sorry I missed it. Thanks for going back.
Yeah, look at those tears coming out of your eyes. Sorry.
I have to be respectful of the board.
You'd be the first.
Oh, come on. I know it's a thankless job.
So you haven't
Alrighty.
seen the big bull out, have you?
No.
Any other business before the
Is it in
commission?
the freezer?
Motion adjourned,
Second.
black eye.
See, I wasn't pointing to you.
Delacroix, aye.
Jeff Lucci, aye.
Crane and I were adjourned.